Host Matty Blake is not wearing the usual drilling down clothes because if he did, he'd be freezing. This drilling down was filmed in the winter in Traverse City, Michigan, sometime after filming finished in the current season that has 2 episodes left to air. Perhaps there will be another off-season drilling down before season 12 starts in November. Matty says the finds this year indicate even more so that something significantly historic and valuable is buried on Oak Island and that they are closer than ever because they continue to evolve. This is the No Cap recap of The Curse of Oak Island Drilling Down Season 10, Episode 10, aired April 16th, 2024. Evolution of the Dig. If you missed any of my recaps of companion shows or main show, there's a link to my Oak Island playlist in the upper right. Matty visits with Rick, Marty, Craig, Alex, and Jack in the War Room East at Rock Management offices. It was known that this would air with 2 episodes left to go because Matty asked what the fans can expect from those last 2 episodes. Alex says lots of stuff right to the end. Rick says he agrees with Alex and that some of the most exciting things always happen at the end of the year. Marty weighs in. Always. Jack adds that he doesn't think any of them could have predicted what they found at the end of the year. Matty says that's a great tease. Matty then recounts the beginning of the show in which the Laginas followed the lead of their partner Dan Blankenship in focusing on Borehole 10X. Dan lived and searched on the island for nearly 50 years. In 10X, Dan believed he had found a back door to the money pit and dug down to 235 feet in the late 1960s. This is not an image from the drilling down episode, but I thought viewers might like to know exactly where 10X is. It's 180 feet east and slightly north from the money pit area and circled in red. This image looks a little weird because I flipped a drone shot so that north would be more at the top. Shout out to Zig for assisting me in locating borehole 10X. At the bottom of 10X, Dan discovered a 10-foot high chamber, and in 1971, he video recorded what he thought were man-made tools, a chest, and even a human body. Sonar imaging seemed to corroborate that video, but world-renowned diver John Chatterton said the box was just a rock that he could pick up, and he found no tools or remains. Rick says that a key early moment for him was when Dan Hinsky, Alex, and Peter Fernetti found coconut fiber in Smith's Cove, which was evidence of original work on Oak Island. Early searchers reported finding 5 stone box drains covered with eelgrass and coconut fiber that kept the drains from getting clogged. Those drains were thought to feed seawater in the money pit area. Blowing them up with dynamite did not stop the flooding. As a bonus, the coconut fiber was carbon dated to between 1260 to 1400 AD. From there, they began expanding the search, including draining the swamp that longtime searcher Fred Nolan believed was man-made. That led to the discovery of the 1652 Spanish Mervedí coin. Expanding the search meant also expanding the team. They added over 20 experts in all sorts of disciplines. Surveyor Steve Guptill says via video conference that metal detection expert Gary Drayton alone has found 4,000 items on the island in the past 6 years, and Laird's team has found easily over 1,000 items in the past year. Laird says the new lab with the high-tech machines has increased what they can do so much. Project manager Scott Barlow is wearing a J-Free 906 podcast cap in this episode. Check that out at the YouTube channel of the same name and tell Jeff Coach Steve sent you. Geoscientist and Oak Island skeptic Dr. Ian Spooner came on board and quickly changed his mind as he found evidence that the swamp was all water in the past. That the paved area in the swamp was built around 1200 AD, and the high trace evidence of gold and other precious metals in the water below the money pit area. trace evidence that is so high, it means that whatever is causing it has to still be there. He has also ruled out it being naturally occurring precious metals. And he then turns attention to the extended members of the team who've gotten involved by first seeing the show on TV and then contacting Rick or the History Channel. The best example of this is the late Zena Halpern, an author and researcher. She had been collecting data on the Knights Templar for over 30 years. She provided them with the Templar map of Oak Island she had found, as well as other documents. With her passing, she donated all of her research to the team, and they are still working through it all, Rick says, as well as that she still lives through that archive. Maddie asked for confirmation that Dr. Spooner is on the team because his sister watched the show. Doug Kroll says that she told Dr. Spooner that he had to get involved because she thought he could help them. Marty adds that Dr. Spooner thought it was going to be a 1-week deal. Not so much. Scott Barlow says he remembers how excited he was when the first preview for the show came on, and that his thirst for knowledge about Oak Island is insatiable. He goes on to say that fans have no idea about the amount of work that goes on compared to the little they see on the show. Another Scott, last name Clark, a 32nd degree Freemason, went from being a casual observer to having now presented twice in the War Room and even written a book about Masonic connections to Oak Island. He proposed the theory that the garnet found by Gary is not a brooch, but one of the stones from a Masonic Royal Arch High Priest breastplate. The breastplate is used in a specific Masonic ritual meant to mimic the retrieval of the Ark of the Covenant from a secret vault underground. His other theory, presented a year earlier, is that William Phips, finder of the Concepcion Spanish galleon that sunk with over 100 tons of silver, gold, and other treasure looted from South America, hid some of it on Oak Island. His first voyage back to England yielded a full ship of 35 tons of treasure for the crown, a feat that got him knighthood. On the second trip, there was much less treasure than expected. For that expedition, he worked with high-ranking Freemason Andrew Belcher, who had close ties to Nova Scotia. Scott Cart found a 1688 letter that says that Belcher was caught in the Mahone Bay area with one of Phips' ships. That was the same time Phips was returning to England with that second light load. The recently purchased Lot 5, well worth whatever it was paid for it, revealed tools that are 100% compositional matches for Phips items found at his birthplace in Maine by yet another fan of the show that contacted Larry. Marty said he'd like to have some data on items from Phips' farm in England to see if those match as well. Manny asked the group where they stand on theories with just a little of the season left, and Alex says the more recent the theory, the more likely, so he thinks Phips rather than Templars. Some of the people in the J396 podcast chat think that Alex looks like Phips. Doug says that based on some of the evidence, they are finding that Templars are more possible. Rick says, like he always says, it's the who, what, when, where, and why, and how. And that thanks to the archaeoastronomy work of Professor Gaspani and his multiple star alignments to the 1200s, providing a pretty credible when. Jack says that all their trips to Europe have been basically to vet the Templar theory. Doug mentions that all the carbon dating they've gotten from the swamp in the 1200s range. Next is a fan's question segment. The first question is, what is the favorite thing they found so far? Craig says the lead cross and the fact that the metal comes from a Templar mine in southern France. Rick agrees and mentions how it was so special to him because he and Gary found the cross 2 weeks after he saw a carving of it in Dome Prison in France. Scott says the stone road in the swamp is up there for him. Marty says it's the U-shaped structure because it's the first time they found definitive proof of substantial activity way before the money pit. Alex says there's nothing better than finding a coin, so he's going with the Lot 5 Roman coins. Jack goes with things he personally found when going through the H8 spoils, the bookbinding and parchment. Doug says he's going to surprise you with his answer. Every single piece of wood that came out of the money pit that predated the search. And there was a lot of that. The next question is, when are they going back to the eye of the swamp? Because that's where all the answers lie. Rick says it remains an area of interest. Jack asks, did we ever dig to the bottom? And we thought it was clay? Alex says, we did, but we've done subsequent digs that suggest we didn't, right? Craig says they should ask Emma to analyze the clay there and to see if she can provide additional information. Perhaps it would even match the money pit, Smith's Cove, and Lot 5 clay. Next is, do they stop and think about the fact that they are rewriting history with some of the things they are finding? Rick says he thinks about it all the time. It's what drives him. Jack says they are trying to solve the mystery of Oak Island, but that rewriting history goes along with that. Marty says he thinks they all do think about it, but also thinks it's a bit grandiose to think that they already have. The couple asks Rick how he keeps his hair so perfect. He jokes that it would be perfect if he could just pull it off right now. But then he says, just good genetics. In conclusion, Maddie asks if they can tell him anything about what to expect in the last few episodes. Marty says 2 things are extremely important. One having to do with his doubts about Nolan's cross. Rick says Lot 5 is involved, and that there are more questions about Lot 5 than probably any other lot on the island. Jack says in the swamp they have carbon dating coming that fits in with other finds from previous years. Maddie asks about the garden shaft flooding. Rick says the fact is that the metals are still there, and Doctors Michael and Spooner will give a final assessment. Rick also thanks the fans, saying, we don't say it enough. I'll continue recapping Season 11 of The Curse of Oak Island late Tuesday nights for these next 2 episodes coming up, as well as continue to do retro recaps of Seasons 6 through 8, Seasons 1 through 5, 9, 10, and the aired episodes of Season 11 are already done and are in my Oak Island playlist, link in the upper right. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Siempre avanti.